Hi sweeties, here's the second part of What's Wrong with Beauty and the Beast remake. Enjoy! 4th. Feminism. Belle in the animated version promised to stay in Maurice's place in the castle, which the Beast is surprised by her act of bravery. In the live action she hasn't made any promises, and the Beast is far too menacing. He's not even surprised that a girl got locked up to save her own father. In the live action they show Belle trying to escape, when Belle in the animated version starts crying in despair. It's an excuse for the feminism issue, since crying now is considered as something weak when in reality it's more than normal for human beings. However, Belle in the animated version was not a submissive or an enslavable girl, and after the screams of the Beast she runs away despite the promise. For those who think that this story is about Stockholm Syndrome, don't understand nothing about Beauty and the Beast. Neither they don't show the real behavior of someone who really suffers from Stockholm Syndrome. I just wanted to add this since many people always said that this movie is about Stockholm Syndrome, which is not. A realistic scene, since she runs away of fear, and mostly because the Beast was throwing objects and smashing them in the air, apart from the screams, and the huge menacing look of the Beast also counts. To be picky, Belle promises her father to escape from the castle, not staying in there with the Beast. It didn't make any sense that in the live action she would get stuck in her own bedroom, as it wasn't locked from the outside, since she hasn't made any promises with the Beast. You know why she's still being in her own bedroom, right? Because they had to remake the same comedy scene from the animated one, where the Beast screams and tries to act kindly in an awkward way, thanks to the servants' advices, even if they don't work out. But this scene in the live action doesn't work and doesn't have any sense at all. Belle in the live action isn't really progressive, as she focuses her emotions more on anger, while Belle in the animated one is more concentrated on sadness. Furthermore, in the animated Belle is stronger because she acts of her own free will. She ventures into the castle, asks the servants if she wants to eat. In the live action, Mrs. Potts comes to her room inviting her to eat. Belle in the live action makes no sense for her to come to dinner and interrupt her escape. Why do you have to accept a proposal with possessive marks? How can you trust them? The one in the animated made more sense, as she had promised to stay in the castle, but didn't have to join dinner with the Beast. She simply rejected because she felt scared and wanted to be left alone. Obviously, then she went to the kitchen, since she was hungry, but this was done for her own free will. The Be Our Guest scene from the animated one was meant to take not that much seriously, since Disney animators always have their moments to vent their own artistic ways, to show us magical moments, but in this case Belle is eating anyway. In the live action it seems that Belle is not allowed to eat anything, since they try to let her not reach any food, and this makes me want to scream, "Let her eat something, please!" The objects in the film even try to keep Belle imprisoned by bolting the front door. It doesn't happen in the animated one, they just try to stop her, but not overdoing it. They only get sad that she's gone. Also, in the animated version, Gaston sent Maurice to an asylum, wanting to force Belle to marry him. In the live action, he asked Maurice for Belle's hand, and this is not convincing at all. 5th. LeFou. LeFou in this movie is depicted similar to his animated version, but with an addition. He's in love with Gaston. That would have been interesting to see, but the way of being established gave this character some problems. His homosexuality is not handled well in the live action. No justice is done for showing up an homosexual character. You don't have to put stereotypical things about a gay person just to make him revolutionary, because doing this way doesn't help. There is the problem that Disney uses this method of putting some LGBT characters into their new movies, only to sell more tickets, and not want to really raise awareness of this. If they take away the question of the fact that he's gay, nothing changes. It would have made more sense if Gaston would have become a beast at the end and LeFou would have become the beauty, like what happened in the 1946 version, which the villain of the story ends up being transformed into a beast. Meanwhile, the beast turns back into a prince. It's not only important or beautiful that there is a gay character and that's it. It would just cause a stir among the audience unless you give a reason why characters like this being added to the plot. Sadly, the gay character is called LeFou, the madman. In Italy, his name was changed back then in the animated version, and it's even worse, since LeFou was translated into Le Tonte, which means the idiot. It doesn't give him a good picture of being a gay character. 6. The Enchantress Curse. In the animated version, the prince had everything he could want, but he was arrogant, selfish, and unkind. One stormy night, a poor-looking old woman knocks on his door, asking for shelter in exchange for an enchanted rose. The prince feels repulsion, mocks the gift and chases it away, but the old woman warns him to not be deceived by appearances and to look to the true beauty that lies within the art. The prince rejects her again, and the old woman turns into a beautiful enchantress. The prince begs forgiveness, but she sees that there was no kindness in his heart, and so she turns him into a beast, ugly inside, outside as well, and turning the servants of the castle into objects, since they serve him as mere objects of service. Even the castle, since it was the scene of his misdeeds. The castle then appears as the lair of a beast. In the live action, the servants are turned into objects because they have not contributed to improve the behavior of the prince because of the father. This is an excuse to give a justification for the beast and for servitude to have turned into objects, but it doesn't make sense. Also, the servitude in the animated version are not justified as having become objects. The fairy exists to teach a lesson. She's not evil, but a superior being. Before disappearing, she leaves the beast through objects. The enchanted rose, a timer, and the magic mirror. Servants must demonstrate that they are not mere objects of service, but help the beast to become a person capable of loving and being loved. Honestly, I think that the director and the script writers didn't understand anything about the animated one, especially if you just let the beast say something like, "I've been damned for a rose." No, my boy, you were cursed for not letting an old lady into your castle, judging her and mocking her for her physical appearance, not just for a rose. The rose wasn't the real problem in this. The prince didn't care about it at all in this live action, I mean. Also, it is not justified that the beast once grown up has become a bad person because of his father. Yes, there are some cases which things like this does happen if you grow up along with an abusive person, but as an adult you have responsibilities and you understand more about life. For example, Cinderella grew up with stepsisters and an evil stepmother, yet remained a sweet and kind girl throughout her life. Also, Quasimodo was raised by a monster, Frollo, but as an adult he still remained kind. Even knowing Frollo's true nature, he didn't dare to kill him, as this is not in his nature to do harm. It's also not the servants' fault that the prince grew up that way. It wasn't their business how the king raised his son. If we act like this, then every king of the past acted like a mean person, and this is a wrong way of thinking because it doesn't have sense. Another mistake, in the final scene the servants become complete inanimate or dead objects. What lesson will they learn from the enchantress this way? If the beast doesn't learn its lesson before time runs out, he will be guilty of a genocide. It's far too extreme. Furthermore, the character of the Beast is very different from the animated one. It seems like he doesn't care that a girl has come into this castle, having a chance to break free from the curse, even acting squeamish about being the daughter of a rose thief. Even worse, if indeed all the servants in the Beast were to perish altogether, then they will also be responsible for a massacre. This is a too pessimistic and exaggerated view for the course. In the animated version, both the Beast and the servants seemed interested in working together to help break the curse. The Beast seemed to have already casted that appearance didn't matter anymore after just become a beast, as if he almost accepted and understood what the enchantress wanted to tell him, but he also had to prove it anyway with facts. Breaking the curse, following the steps that enchantress explained, learn to love and be loved in return. The live-action version seems to have not gotten past the problem of having become a beast, still blaming the rose. There aren't even particular scenes where he changes his mind thanks to Belle, just a repulsion towards others. The beast in the animated one was shown to feel a lot of guilt about others, about himself, maybe even having depression about what happened and about the rose timer issue, not having any progress on Belle, while the Beast doesn't seem very interested to fix the curse problem in the live action. Feelings must be spontaneous, not forced. Speaking of the scene when he gives Belle the whole library in the live action, the Beast gives the library to Belle out of love in the animated one. Meanwhile, in the live action, he gives the library to her, acting like there is better than feelings. Come with me, I'll give you better to read. Also, the Beast was very interested to read after so many years for not doing that. I mean, really. Come on, why did they have to screw up his character in the live action like this? And obviously with Belle as well. I'll continue to tell you everything else next time, since that there's much more to say. I hope you're enjoying this kind of content I'm bringing. Please, let me know what do you think of it and if you want to ask me questions. See you next time!